Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this webinar from Next Gen Planners. Today, we are looking at how to grow your financial planning business using systems and processes. And to look at this, it was originally planned to be Adam Carolan. Hi, Adam. How you doing?
I'm good, Dan. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you. And it was originally planned to be alongside Rohan, but unfortunately Rohan couldn't make it today, so I'm afraid to say that you've got me instead. So I'll be adding my 2 cents every now and again and facilitating the session for you guys today. Before we start, just a bit of housekeeping. We've got plenty of time for you guys to ask questions today, so we want this to be interactive. We've got a poll lined up as well just before we start, and if you want to ask any questions, just pop them in the Q&A, which is down the bottom there, and we'll answer them either throughout or we'll answer them at the end. And Adam's got a few slides to go through with you guys, and then plenty of time for questions at the end as well. Does that sound good, Ad?
Yeah. Shall I share screen? Shall I get started?
Share your slides. So, I mean, while you're doing that, I guess just for the audience's sake and for everyone's sake, I think it's probably best that we do some definition of terms. So systems and processes is something that is used kind of synonymously, and they both get used alongside each other quite often, but they are quite different. Can you just explain to the audience very quickly what the difference is between a system and a process?
Yeah, no problem. It took me years before I figured this out, and I tried to simplify it. But basically, systems are your high level. What is it you're trying to do? You know, if it's sales, you know, what is your sales system? If it's marketing, what is your marketing system? And then a process is, how are you going to do it? You know, what are the steps, what are the checklists, what are the tasks that you need to do to get from A to B? So just keep it really simple. There's a lot of terminology in the profession. It gets very confusing. You've also got the new terminology of playbooks, which is on a different kind of level to systems and processes. But just to keep it really simple, what is it you're trying to do? And then how are you going to do it?
Makes sense. I hope that makes sense for the audience as well. But if you do have any questions about what the definition is, just please let us know in the Q&A. So should we get on then? I think we've got a poll first, haven't we? So do you want to put the next slide up, Ad? And do you want me to explain this one, or are you happy to explain this one? I mean,
yeah, I'm happy for you to explain this one, but it's pretty simple, isn't it?
I mean, it's very simple. It doesn't take much explaining, to be honest. But yeah, based on the data that we get from, we've got something called a business benchmark, which many of you might have filled out already. It's a test, it's a scorecard which identifies what financial planning businesses are doing to grow their financial planning businesses. And from the data that we've discovered in there, only 55% of financial planning businesses have repeatable workflows and processes. So what we thought it would be good to do today is to start things off with a little poll in here as well, and to ask you guys exactly the same question that we ask in the test. So the question is, do you have repeatable workflows and processes in your financial planning business? And I'm going to launch that now. So it should have popped up on your screen. So if you could just answer that question when you get a chance. And in the meantime, I'll ask Adam, can you just define for us what we mean when we say repeatable workflow or
so this is specific for workflows and processes. So do you have tasks that are repeatable in your business that you do on a continuous basis, i.e. you do one thing and then you do it the same every time? So repeatable is the key here. So it's looking like the poll is fairly successful, actually. So should we just turn it off and go home?
Yeah, there's a few.
I am home.
Yeah, there's a few people. Yeah, there's a few people left to answer, so we'll just give them another 10 seconds to answer. But I mean, the results are pretty similar to what I mean. They're in the same ballpark of what we got from the test as well. So I'll end that poll now, and then I'll share it with you guys so you can see there. So hopefully that's come up on your screens as well, the results from that. But so it's 67% of you said yes, that you do have repeatable workflows and processes, and then 33% of you said no. So hopefully by the end of today, those people who said no will be able to understand why it's quite important that we do get those into your businesses as well.
Okay, perfect. Stop sharing. Okay, perfect. So Okay, let's get started then. I think what we're trying to do here is look at how we can use systems and processes, how to grow your financial planning business. So it's one thing having them in place, and that's great. You know, are you happy with them, and are they actually helping you grow your business? So I actually find that stat really interesting. I think we had about 70 business complete that business benchmark now. So if you haven't done it, go ahead and do it. I think Dan's going to share the details at the end, but it's giving us great data where the gaps are in financial planning businesses. So it allows us to bring content and value. So, okay, so we're talking about growth today. So just get this going. Okay, so why bother with systems and processes? Okay, so I put three very simple things here. So, you know, consistency, accountability, and better client experience. Very, very simple. Okay. If you do a task, you do it well, and you're consistent, that for me is a better financial planning business. So be really good at delivering what you're doing on a consistent basis is the start. Accountability. So for those with bigger businesses, you know, not necessarily the one person companies, but for those with bigger businesses, you want people to be accountable to the tasks and the actual the day-to-day, you know, job that they're doing, and see what everyone's doing. So that's important. But the third one for me is the most important. I think the thing that gets lost. So if you're going to grow a financial planning company, you want to be focusing on your better client experience, because that's where you're going to drive your referrals, which is a big lead generator for a financial planning business. But you can only do that from a solid foundation. So people think, in my view, far too soon about client experience, and they don't actually get the foundations in place. Once you have a system and you have a process, that's where you can actually put the, you know, the cherry on the cake, so to speak. You can actually go to the nth degree to make things better for the client. So, you know, why bother? Consistent, you've got a consistent business, you've got accountability, and you've got a better client experience. I've got some interesting stats as well about some other reasons why you bother further on. But we're going to talk about three systems today. Okay, so the first, and this is all about growth in a financial planning business, you could probably make up about 20 different systems. So Dan could talk to you all day about a marketing system, and I'm sure he'd love to do that today, but he's not going to get a chance. You've got a finance system, you've got a HR system, you've got all different systems that you have to think about. How are you going to do something in your business? Okay. What I'm going to talk about today is, you know, the S word. You know, it's something that we don't like saying within financial planning, but I think is a massive part of growing your financial planning business, which is a sales system. Okay. And it was really interesting to me that only 24% of those that we surveyed had actually a sales structure process in place, you know, a sales system in place. Okay. And at the end of the day, we are reliant, Next Gen Planners is reliant, any financial planning business is reliant on sales. You know, bringing income into your company is a really important part of what you do. We don't like talking about it because of the history of sales within financial planning, but, you know, I want to bring sales back. I want to bring the trendy sales back in terms of how do we get revenue into your businesses? How do we become really proud of what we do? And we can only do that if we get more people to buy financial planning. Okay, it's not buying products, not buying you know, the products back in the day. It's buying the value of financial planning, and that's why I think sales is massively important. So when you're building your sales system, what I want you to think, if you haven't got one, is I've got some really simple questions, but let's just work through it. Is how do people book in to speak to you? You know, how do they contact you is a really important part of the sale. How do you then communicate with them? What is the journey that they go through from the minute they pick up the phone or send an email to booking in that introductory call or discovery meeting? Okay. Then, you know, very, very scary, but at what point are you asking for commitment? Because that is a key part of sales is, you know, are you going to go head to head? You know, are you going to go ahead with what you're asking to do? And I think that's something we don't do well enough in financial planning. I want you guys to get better at asking for commitment. Okay. How long is the process is a really important one. So I've seen weeks and I've seen months. How long is your sales process? And ultimately, what's the experience? Are you good to deal with, as a financial planning company? So when you're building your sales system, and I think every business in financial planning should have a sales system, you need to think about things and think about, some of these key questions, but how you want to be viewed by the prospects. And I've given, we're going to have, within every system here, we're going to have some tips for success. Okay, number one, and again, really simple, communicate the journey really clearly to your prospects. Okay, what are you going to be asking them to do? How long is the call going to be? What are the benefits going to be from that call? How are you going to help them move from A to B? What are going to be the benefits of your financial planning service? So this is clear communication, and great sales companies, great companies in general that do sales really well, communicate the journey that you're going to go through really quickly. We're quite unfortunate within financial planning. It's quite a high friction journey for sales. So, signing up to Netflix or signing up to, I think, Starling Bank was about 10 minutes. That's not going to be the case with the financial planning business. So you need to communicate the steps that someone has to take with you as part of the sales process. And the last one is something we hate as financial planners, is we hate hearing no. And to be a really good salesperson or really good at sales in financial planning, you have to get used to it. If too many people are saying yes, you've not done the job well enough, in my view. So you need to keep getting comfortable with hearing no. I had a conversation with a young financial planner who's running a really great business last week at the conference. We talked about this idea of there's not a huge amount of sales training these days within financial planning. And I agree, but we just have to get used to being uncomfortable when it comes to sales. But a system that you follow in a repeatable process and you track can really help in this, this area. Is that okay, Dan?
Yeah, can I just come in quickly? I think they're all very, very important, but I think especially important, as you mentioned, in the high friction world that we are in, is the first one. So, usually a long time taken between first meeting and second meeting isn't a financial planner's fault. It's usually that they're waiting on a provider to get back to them. It's usually that they're waiting for some information or something like that. But the thing is that the client can't separate you from the provider. So because they just see it all as one. So therefore you need to communicate that journey so clearly and say, we'll meet up again in the next 4 weeks, and we'll definitely be meeting up again. And this is what you can expect in between now and then. This is the process that you're going to get throughout this. Because like you mentioned, Dad, there's so much friction in that process that it's very easy for people it's more easy and more simple for people to just give up on the process than it is to actually see it out and see it through. And I think a lot of people in the audience will probably already know this as well, but that's just a really important point.
Yeah, and just to go back to that, I think you've made some great points. I see a lot of issues around this in the client agreement / proposal area. So you've delivered a great discovery meeting, you're ready to deal with the client, and then there's some kind of uncertainty about what your fees are and how you're going to charge. I think you could use that as an opportunity to sit down or have a Zoom meeting or whatever, a separate meeting, to go through it in detail, answer any questions they've got and be very transparent on your fees. Because a lot of financial planning firms won't be doing that. So there's a really good opportunity to both communicate the journey clearly, but also do something that no one else is doing. So that sales system, I think that's really key to get right. And next, we've got referral system. So Dan, only 54% of financial planning businesses are happy with the level of client referrals they received. That we found that quite interesting, didn't we?
Yeah, especially because, I mean, a lot of people say that word of mouth and referrals and all that kind of stuff is their biggest, kind of source of new clients in their businesses. But just over half of people are actually, that means just less than half of people are unhappy with the level of new clients or new referrals that they get in. So it was quite surprising, this one. I thought it'd be a lot higher.
Yeah, so the question then becomes, okay, what is the system you have? So if you are happy, great, you can always get more. If you're not happy, what is the system that you're going to attack this area in? How are you going to do it, and what are the steps you're going to do? Okay. So again, questions to think about, and referrals really are the lifeblood of most financial planning businesses. So again, it's something you have to be skilled at. So how you ask for referrals is absolutely crucial. Okay. Are you asking in your review meeting? Are you asking as part of the onboarding call? Are you asking ad hoc? So how you ask is really important. How do you want to receive the referrals? So this is massively overlooked as well. So, I don't know about you guys, but did you ever get the referral where someone said, I will give your details to someone else and they'll call you, and they never called you? That referral for me doesn't work. I always ask people to refer me, copy me into an email, okay? And I will pick it up from there. So I was specifically saying, as a system, this is how I want to receive referrals, okay? Are you easy to refer to, and how do you follow up? So what is your process of following up? Is it a standard email with a booking link? Is it you pick up the phone? So these are things that you think about, and what is the call to action? And then a further thing that I didn't put on there, but worth following up, is what is your system or your process to follow up with people that never got back to you as part of referrals. So these all things that you kind of, it's too easy to give up. Once you get a referral and say that person's not gone ahead, we take it personally, and it isn't personal. Somebody might be busy, they might not be right, it might not be the right time. So have a system and a process about following up that referral, and watch your referral skyrocket. This is a really low-hanging fruit area for a lot of financial planning businesses. I'm going to give you some tips here. People ask for referrals, and they deliver. I think they should deliver value first. So I've got some really great, I've got a really good example of this, what good looks like. So when you binge on, say, Breaking Bad on Netflix, and I was massive into Breaking Bad, I loved it, old Walter White, I was then telling people about Netflix and Walter White. So that's when Netflix broke through. And interestingly, I never worked this out until I read about it recently. Netflix will only hit you for a recommendation or a referral when they know that you binge through a certain show. It's really clever psychology. So what they've done is they've delivered value first. Okay. And as financial planners, we should be, in my view, asking for referrals, either if we've added value, or a breakthrough. And the biggest example of a breakthrough I can give is you've just delivered the financial plan for a new client. Okay. That, in my view, is the number one time you should be asking for referrals. Someone's excited, they've got clarity about their finances. For the first time, they've got a financial plan. Why not be asking at that point, is there anyone like you that you think we could help deliver the same kind of process? Okay. That, for me, feels way more powerful than just asking at the end of your review meetings. It's just a better way of getting referrals. And also, again, go back to that, make sure the referral is delivered in a way you want it to be. Okay, it could be a personal introduction, could be an email, it could be that you go to an event together. Whatever situation makes you comfortable, make sure the referral is delivered in that way, is one of my tips for success. Are you happy with that, Dan?
Yeah, we've got a question from someone in the audience, which may have been answered, partly by what you've just been talking about, them tips there. And also they've used a word which you tried to get people comfortable with at the start. But the question is how do you ask for referrals without coming around and put in what do you call them, speech marks, salesy? So what would you say to that alongside those tips that you've just gone through there?
Yeah, so number one, deliver value. So, do something above and beyond, for that person, deliver value, do a really great financial planning experience, take them for, a really nice lunch or something like that, and deliver value. And then in a very polite manner, and it's important how you ask for it, is there anyone like you that you think would benefit from our services or our financial planning? So that feels, I don't know about you, Dan, but that feels to me less intrusive as introduce me to your friends.
Yeah, and they probably do. That's the thing we always say, isn't it? The likelihood is that they'll search their brain, they'll rack their brain for someone, especially if they're happy with you. They probably do know someone. It's just they've never thought about it beforehand.
Yeah, the last thing on that is referring a financial planner is a very, it's a very high level referral, you know, because obviously you're dealing with someone's finances. So if someone's not comfortable with that, that's fine. You know, that's absolutely fine. We shouldn't pressure them into doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. And the last one is probably the most overwhelming, is how you run your business, which is the operating model. Okay, so I mean, this is so difficult for those who are starting businesses. You probably don't get down to this, I think, until year 2 or 3. We're going through some with guys in Advice Stack at the moment, and helping them, you know, model their businesses, actually put systems and processes into place. The actual priority is getting income into your business. Once you've got income into your business, you've got a sustainable income, then you look to improve it. And if you want to go to the next level, at some point, you've got to put systems and processes that are repeatable in place to allow you to have the capacity to grow. Okay, so capacity is a key word here. But operating model, key questions, you know, does everyone in the business know what they are doing is a key question. Funnily enough, there's a lot of surveys outside financial planning. I'm thinking of doing one inside, but where people talk about the reason they leave businesses is because they don't know what they're doing. You know, they don't have consistent process or workflows to follow. Is everyone accountable? Accountability can be a good thing. People want to be proud of the work they've done. You know, is there a way of checking that? Are the processes centered around clients? So some of the systems and processes that I see are very compliant-led processes, and that's fine. But at some point, you've got to then switch the focus around processes around clients. You know, how many, I think you just put a survey, how many times you're talking to clients, how many touch points, how many meetings are you going to have with them? So this is your operating system. So this is really important for you guys to work out. Feedback and improvement. Once you've got a system and process, can you go, is there anything you can go faster or improve? This is where things like technology comes into place, or just feedback. So, you know, feedback from clients or feedback from your team that something isn't working. As a business leader, you have to take that very seriously and say, is there something we can improve? Training is another area I see overlooked in our sector. Is people need to be trained on processes. You know, it's not enough to give them a process and say, there you go, you know, get going. You need to train them on why it's important and how to do it. And you need to buy in. So last bit's really important. If there's a system and process and you're working outside that system and process, and this happens, doesn't it, Dan? It happens all the time. If you're not bought into that system and process, why should you ask your team to also do that system and process? So that's really important, that you're not working off the sheet on this, and you're bought in. If you're not bought in, you need to revisit the systems and process with your team, you know, and get everyone's buy-in. So that's quite an overwhelming area. And this is really interesting to me. So again, these are quite new businesses, not all substantial businesses, but only 38 of financial planning business leaders felt they could take over 2 weeks out of their business, which says to me they don't have the confidence in their systems and processes. You know, we talked about why bother before. This is a big reason. If you're gonna run a business that you control rather than a business that controls you, you have to get your system and process in place. They're going to help you grow, but they're also going to help you stay sane as a business leader. Okay, that was interesting, Dan. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said there, to be honest, Dad. I mean, that is a measure of how confident people are with their systems and processes in reality. Because if they were, and what's the book? Is it E-Myth by Michael Gerber? It's almost like you need to franchise your business. You need to almost be able to have a business in a box and then hand it down, and so that if you weren't there, someone else could take it and run with it. And often a financial planning business and a financial planning business leader intertwined, and you can't really separate one from the other without, you know, breaking it apart. So yeah, it was really interesting, I think.
Yeah, it's also really difficult to do. So this is the hardest bit to do. So putting sales system is pretty simple. Putting a referral system is pretty simple. basically building your operating model for your financial planning business. I think one business leader put it to me as walking through treacle for about a year. And that's essentially what it is, because you've got to look at every aspect of your business. But the other side, as a client, I'm going to give you a good and bad experience here. So good experience is I was, well, my family were an NHS dentist, and the NHS said, well, the dentist said, we're no longer supporting NHS, and the nearest one was like 30 miles away, but you can go private. So my wife, being from the Northeast like Dan, didn't take that very well, but we looked at it and said, look, is this worth it? And I have to say, it's been the best decision ever that I've ever made in terms of that area of my life to go private, because the experience of how they manage their business is incredible. So we get text reminders, we can call up. It's a really nice place to go into. They're all very friendly. So we don't mind paying more money, but it's clear to me they have a really good operating system behind the scenes, and that's massive. Okay, a bad experience, and again on the other side, is my accountant. So my accountant, I have to chase, I have to get figures out my accountant. He only does stuff when I want him to, he only prepares my tax returns at last minute if I ask him to. So there's no operating model system there. And you have to think, are you like the dentist in this scenario, or want to be like a dentist, or do you want to be like the accountant? I can tell you that, most accountants are like this, and that's why a lot of people end up leaving the accountants. So spending the time on your operating model, being that really good financial planning firm to work with will really help your business. And how do you do this? So again, very, very difficult, but I would suggest that you get every key stakeholder and some of your team in a room, and you map out your whole client journey. So you get a load of, Marianne Page talks about this all the time, by the way, and she's written some great books on systems and processes, but, get a blank wall, get a load of sticky notes, get a load of different colors, and map out step by step, what's your onboarding process, what's your review process, what's your business register process. So all the core processes in your business, okay? And then, okay, what are the steps or the tasks that we need to do to deliver that client journey? And then once you get to like that, foundational level, and we're just doing, again, a sprint at the moment with advice that, how do we remove the time and processes? How do we make it faster? How do we make it cheaper to deliver? So that's a key part, again, people overlook, is don't just settle once you have a working workflows and process, which I think is the reason a lot of people aren't happy with them, is they're not continually, testing them and improving them and using technology to deliver some of them. I think that's about it, Dan.
It is. We've got a question from someone in the audience, which is quite a long question, and maybe you guys want to pick it up afterwards. It's in the Q&A box if you want to see it, but it's how do you document and manage the systems and processes in your business? So for instance, for documenting a folder with Word documents, Excel, something else, and for managing CRM, project management, or something else. And then he apologizes for the long question as well. So it might be worth you guys catching up afterwards, but I think you might get it.
I mean, Word. I'm a big fan of technology, but if it's just an Excel spreadsheet, it's just an Excel spreadsheet. A business with an Excel spreadsheet with good systems and processes is a good business. What a business without any systems and process, nothing written down, I don't think is a great business. So I think, just using the technology that you think would be good. I think a few people use Microsoft or Google, have a lot of apps around this. I think Asana and Trello, again, is another one that a lot of people seem to use.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's good.
Any other questions?
There's no other questions. I think there's another slide, isn't there, after this one, which is the scorecard. So yeah, do you want to explain that a little bit? And I'll put it in the chat box for people to fill in as well.
Yeah, so we launched the business benchmark test that I think we've just had under 70 businesses do now. And what we've done is, well, basically what you do, you take 3 or 4 minutes, you complete it, it gives you a score for each section. around the various areas that we think are important in financial planning business, and also the areas that we think you need to work on within your financial planning business. Gives you a score, gives you a really nice report that gives you some value about how to improve the score in that individual area. But what that's giving us is that's giving us key data of where financial planning firms need help, and resource. So if you haven't done that, please do it, because the more data we've got as a profession, I think is going to help us in terms of solving the problems that all you guys have.
Absolutely. Good stuff. Well, that takes us to exactly 30 minutes. What about that? How good is that? So thank you so much, Ad. That was really, really useful. Hopefully you guys in the audience found it useful as well. Obviously, if you do have any questions about anything that we've covered today, our email inbox is always open. So you just need to send us a message to contact@nextgenplanners.co.uk. And then I can forward them on to Adam and he can have a chat with you as well. Make sure you do fill out the business benchmark test. That's hard to say. Because it is really useful, and it provides you with a personalized report at the end, which you may find useful as well. A recording of this will be made available afterwards, so if you want to watch anything back, if you want to see the slides, just let us know. And other than that, I think that's all for now, isn't it, Ad?
Absolutely. Cheers, guys.
Well, have a lovely rest of the week, everyone. Thank you very much for coming, and we'll see you all very, very soon. Bye-bye.